Now, he's apparently, supposedly, according to the Telegraph, that Kiev must take this deal, Adam, or face being destroyed. What do we make of it?
Look, I think over the last 18 months or 2 years, it's pretty obvious that Ukraine cannot beat Russia on its own. And that is why the Western world has been giving it weapons and advice and training. At the end of the day, what Trump is now saying is the hard facts. Ukraine cannot win this war. And I think Putin hasn't even put his full army there. If Putin wanted to take over Ukraine, he probably could do in a few months. So, look, we need this war to end. I think there's been like 1 million casualties, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of men dying needlessly on both sides. And the economic effect that this is having on so many countries. Like us, we are spending billions on Ukraine when we need to spend these billions on our own people. So we all want this to end.
Yeah, absolutely. Sebastian, Keir Starmer, of course, he's got this coalition of the willing. I don't think much has happened with that. Does it look like the Prime Minister might be getting a bit tougher on this issue? Do you think, given his closeness, supposedly, with Donald Trump, he could maybe twist his arm a little bit on this?
You'd hope so. And they seem to have a good relationship. You hear from Trump all the time. He says how much he likes Starmer, which is something that we as Britain can really tap into. It's good to see Britain being a big name on the international stage. You don't get that very often anymore, sadly. So I'm pleased to see Starmer using his diplomatic skills to good effect, and I hope he can twist the arm. I was really struck by some of the accounts of the meeting here, shouting and swearing. The Telegraph says Mr. Trump threw aside Ukrainian maps of the battlefield. He's really angry, isn't he? And I think the issue is, if this war stops now, Putin wins. And we show him that you can rock up into a European country, take that territory and keep it.
Well,
Adam, go on.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
What Sebastian's saying there is we should carry on funding this Ukraine war. We can't afford it. And at the end of the day, this risks spilling over into World War III. Now, I've got a 16-year-old son. If in 2 or 3 years this gets even worse, there is no chance my son is going off to a foreign battlefield for this country, especially under Keir Starmer. So we need to draw a line under this. Ukraine is not going to want to have to give territory away, but they've got no other option. There has to be a deal.
There were people who said that about World War II, and we don't look upon them fondly now. You have to take on aggressors. You have to show them that this kind of behaviour will not be rewarded.
And risk World War III, no thanks.
Look, I mean, it's a really difficult situation. And Adam, you pointed out that there have been over 1 million casualties estimated. People have been so focused on Gaza and the estimated 50,000 casualties there. They've sort of lost sight of what is going on in Ukraine, where there are a far higher number. That we need to take into account. But, I mean, this is sad to read that Trump is now suggesting that Ukraine will have to give up territory to Russia, because we heard him come out a few weeks ago. He changed his tune, started getting tougher on Putin, and said, actually, I think with the support of Europe, that Ukraine can push Russia out without ceding any land. But now it's looking like things are changing. I just hope that maybe Trump is sort of playing bluff here to force Zelensky to make some compromises. But one thing that's difficult is there's a member of Parliament, I can't remember her name, in Ukraine, who's been speaking to some of the UK press and saying, actually, it's not possible for Zelensky to easily agree to give up any land because it's embedded in their constitution in Ukraine. They'd have to change the constitution in order to agree to give up land. So that's
a complicated
very messy.
issue for Zelensky. It's complicated for the whole world. And I think the thing is when I see all these front pages, we've got Gaza on one, we've got Ukraine on another one, we've got China. It really feels like the world is closing in around us. And I just can't get this feeling out of my head that we are rapidly heading towards World War III. And that idea absolutely terrifies me, because in this modern day, casualties will be in the billions if that happened.
We're living in a time of what feels like pretty significant social change, and it makes us question things that we've even taken for granted for decades. And one of those at the moment that people are wondering about is actually money. Is the money in your bank account safe? Should you be investing elsewhere? Are we looking at a potential global crash? What will it mean for your savings? Is there a way that you could be using your money that might be outside of government control even? Well, TallyMoney is potentially one solution. So I'm delighted to say that I'm joined today by the CEO and founder of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. What is TallyMoney?
Well, at TallyMoney, you basically get gold you can spend. So we give people an individual account in their name, everyday account. They get a sort code, an account number. They use that account just like they would pounds from their bank, but it's milligrams of gold that we brand as Tally.
Okay. Why would you do that, though? What is the benefit to the customer instead of just having a normal pound sterling account?
Gold's performance against the pound is above 11% per annum over the last 25 years on average. But we still need money in our daily lives, and we have savings. We know that it's good common sense and prudent to save up for things, not just live in credit. You know, whether it's a holiday or a rainy day, your retirement planning, you need to have money in your life, basically, that you can rely on, that's dependable, that nobody meddles with, that nobody can weaponise against you, which is another element of government control when it's the government currency, which we could talk about another time. And it should be pretty simple and straightforward, and that's what we deliver at Tally. And really, we just want people to feel safe and happy with their money. There was a time when the bigger your bank balance, the more confident you felt. Now it's like, I need to do something with it. I can't leave it there. In Tally, you can.
Okay, brilliant. Cameron Parry from TallyMoney, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bev.
I cannot, in good faith, not start this show without looking at the front page of the Daily Express. And I'm going to read some of the lines out from this article for you because I've got it here in front of me. So the Daily Express are reporting this. Sadiq Khan has been accused of covering up evidence of grooming gangs in London after an Express investigation. The Mayor of London read reports, supposedly, allegedly, of young girls being raped in hotels by groups of men while publicly denying, the mayor of course, there were any grooming gangs in the capital. This is word from the Daily Express. The children were also piled with drugs and had their lives threatened, evidence uncovered by the Express and My London shows. Grooming gang whistleblower Maggie Oliver, who of course has come on GBNews very often, told the Express that the cases followed the same pattern she had seen with Greater Manchester Police's cover-up of the Rochdale scandal. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philpott is accusing Sadiq Khan of being part of a cover-up and called for accountability. I'll read more into this shortly. You know, this is a damning accusation. This is a damning accusation. We have a national grooming gang inquiry, of course, it's going to be, I would have thought, very, very soon, kicking off. And London, I highly suspect, will be part of that investigation. Paul, I'll start with you. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hello.
Not a good headline for the Mayor of London. We did break a similar story just a few weeks ago on GBNews. This grooming gang, this rape epidemic of young women in our country, to put it more, not as soft as grooming gangs, is threatens it's all of us. It's across the entire nation, isn't it?
I genuinely believe that Sadiq Khan will not care one jot about this headline whatsoever. He'll see the smorgasbord of newspaper headlines and he'll see that just one paper's covering it. He'll feel extremely safe. He has, rather intelligently, been the architect of a very, very safe space for himself. London, and the one thing we're never saying in here, and I'm kind of reticent about pointing this out right now, is that this is largely a Muslim Pakistani grooming gang issue that we're talking about. That's not to say there are no other grooming gangs in the UK or wider Europe. But what we are talking about here now is Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs being the problem. Of course they exist in London. It's statistically impossible that they don't. London is 8 million people, has 1.3 million Muslims, 15% of the capital is Muslim under the 2021 census. Sadiq Khan has built an empire on the back of that 15% and the strange bedfellows of Muslim and liberalism. So you combine London's liberalism population with its Muslim population, you have an extremely large cohort of people that will back him no matter what. And because it makes people so squeamish to talk about this from a factual perspective, from a religious perspective, from a background perspective, he is very safe in the knowledge that he is in the safe space to talk. And I, by saying this right now, am in a relatively dangerous position by pointing it out.
I'll go straight to you on this, Sebastian. You're a councillor in London, of course. What do you make of what Paul's saying there?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's early days. We've just had this story hot off the press. I want to hear from the mayor. I don't think we've had a right response there, and see what he has to say. What I don't see is the political advantage of doing this if it is true. Why cover up after everything that has happened in Rochdale, elsewhere in the country? Why jump on that bandwagon and cover up something as awful as this?
Well, I just want to read a little bit more because I'm going to read this article out for you in stages so we can get the response here from the panel and you can digest it at home. So the Express have gone on to say this. The Mayor and the Metropolitan Police, by the way, have consistently claimed to have no reports at all of Rochdale or Rotherham-style rape gangs in the capital, with Khan suggesting there was no indication they even exist. However, in the pages of 4 different His Majesty Inspectorates of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services reports from 2016 to 2025, which the Mayor of London personally responded to, the Express found details of 6 potential victims. I will read out some of those police inspection evidence victims reports here in just a moment. Chloe, what do we make off the back of that?
Well, it sounds like they've got quite a bit of evidence at the Daily Express. So, of course, we haven't heard from Mayor Khan yet, but I think that this is quite damning what we are hearing in this article. They've got documents there showing that he personally responded, apparently, to reports of there being potential grooming gang victims in London. And then he said there is no indication. And we've spoken about, there's that clip of Susan Hall questioning him on grooming gangs, and very arrogantly, he just dodges the question and says, "Oh, can you define that? I'm not sure what you mean by that." I mean, the man is so arrogant and so in denial about the problems in this capital city. We see it with knife crime, and now it looks like we're seeing it with the grooming gangs as well. It's just unconscionable the way that he conducts himself, I think.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because I think of that infamous clip of Susan Hall with Sadiq Khan, and we're going to try and get that clip to show it to you, by because I think it's very revealing about how much the Mayor supposedly cares about this issue, because this is an issue up and down the country. We have seen it in almost every major town, city across Britain. It would be almost completely and a massive anomaly that we wouldn't be able to explain if they weren't happening here in London, Paul.
Well, absolutely. And just to go back to Sebastian's point with regards to why would he, I feel like, and it's very damning actually, and I don't think it walks along the political divide. I think it's on both sides. Historically, people have been very comfortable to deny that this very serious thing is happening because they've always felt that they, in doing so, would probably get away with it. There's always enough plausible deniability. They're always far enough away from the actual incidents. And these incidents take place at the lowest end of our demographic in the country. These are predominantly poor white girls that are disenfranchised and seen as people that have little to no value within society. Now, I'm not saying that's true. I know no one on this panel is saying that's true. But the truth of it is that's where the victims are coming from. And people in power are so far removed from those people and those victims that they have almost created a space in which they feel comfortable to deny it's ever happening. And this goes right across the top of the police, right across the top of the political sphere and the media sphere as well. People have become incredibly squeamish about talking about this. And the reason it's proliferated is because people will not talk about it. Look, I don't know what the solution is, but what I do know is the way towards the solution is for people like Sadiq Khan to admit that this may have happened. Also, not to dismiss it if someone raises a question, even if it is Susan Hall and you don't like her as your political opponent, even if it's uncomfortable for you to hear the question, you absolutely should deal with it in a serious way. And I don't think he's done that to this point.
No, I certainly agree. And Chloe, I think I'll read out some more of this article in just a second for you, because Chris Wilde, who is one of the men who has been working tirelessly on this issue, he is basically he's a care professional, by the way. He's worked with vulnerable young children. And he has mentioned that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And he said it's not just these few case studies we've been able to uncover, but he said it is prolific in London. He said he's actually claiming that it is worse in London than anywhere else in the country. So if the Mayor has said he's found no evidence of this, if the Met Police are saying they found no evidence of this, surely they will be held to pay politically for a mayor who would either not be aware of this happening in his own capital, or possibly if Chris Wilde's accusations are correct, that this would be happening under his nose.
I would like to see that if these accusations are correct, that Sadiq Khan would resign. But quite frankly, I think that he's too arrogant and his ego is too inflated to actually do that. I mean, a little bit like Prince Andrew, he won't go until he's shoved. And the electorate in London, as Paul has pointed out, you've got this marriage of the Muslim community and then the young woke liberals living in London, means that it's almost like he's untouchable. So I have a strong feeling that he will get away with it, very sadly. But I mean, the thing is, just going back to Paul's point about the question that Susan Hall raised, is even if these accusations are completely false and Sadiq Khan knew nothing about this, what is clear to me from that questioning where Susan Hall spoke to him is that he doesn't care about grooming gangs. He doesn't take this as a serious issue because he acted like a child, dismissing it as if it was funny in that meeting, and I thought it was absolutely disgusting to the victims across this country.
Yeah, Sebastian, this is going to be very difficult politically for Sadiq Khan because these are all accusations, by the way. I'm not accusing him of doing it. I'm saying from what we're seeing from these reports, it looks... And I think it would be really unusual for London to be the only place where these haven't happened, and that's what the mayor has and the police have both said. Is there any inkling to you from your working with your local constituents that this may not be the case?
Nothing from my work, but I talk from a position of seeing one problem that we have societally across the country, which is that women aren't believed. Women report things and they're not taken seriously. You look at the percentage of rape allegations that end in convictions, and it's something like 2%, which is terrible. The justice system isn't working for women, and it's no wonder that they don't bother to report these things. And I think that is the crux of the issue. We have to make sure that if you're the victim of something unspeakable, you will see justice.
Yeah, well, I just want to go back again to read this article, to give you some more information. I just want, again, there's a lot here, so I want to unpack it for you bit by bit, and we'll continue to do that throughout the show, because I think this is very important. This is the capital city of our country. I'm a born and bred Londoner, as I confess. I'm very invested in making sure we get to the bottom of this. But also, as you all might have known, and you might have seen my show where I did talk about this issue, and very, very similar story to this. But of course, we're building momentum now up until that national grooming gang inquiry, aren't we? And there could be a lot of politicians sitting in office today that are, brought to justice. Let's say, I'm not saying anyone potentially is, but there could be a lot of them. I just want to read you some of Chris Wilde's comments out here. Let me just find them for just a quick second. Yeah, Chris Wilde said, I'm on the front line, and workers like me all have stories of girls like this. It's happening all over London, and so much more than anywhere else in the country. To hear reports from the mayor's office saying, but this is not a problem here, show the guy is deluded. You've got to ask yourself the question, who are they protecting? What are they protecting? I'm going to also read out for you shortly London grooming gang victims' direct quotes to the Express on this issue. Let's play you, though, for your own recollection, that infamous exchange between Susan Hall and Sadiq Khan.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for your misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If you could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
Yeah, I think his reaction to that, his gut reaction, I mean, we all know what they are. This is a national conversation we're having for years, and that footage wasn't that long ago. Paul, what's your reaction when you see that clip played again?
Well, he's clearly obfuscating there at a professional level as well, almost to a childish professional level. It's quite clearly, I mean, whatever we might think of Mayor Sadiq Khan, he's not stupid enough to misunderstand what the question is about or what any of the meaning of the question might mean. What is most revealing to me is why he doesn't feel comfortable to just tackle it head on. It can be dismissed very quickly. I'm sure that he has access, in fact, I know he has access to statistics that would back up any point he wanted to make. So he would have known it was coming, the question. He could have prepared himself, and he didn't need to be as flippant as he was. And unfortunately, this plays incredibly badly outside of London. Within London, and everything that we've talked about, it plays fairly well. People don't want to hear it. But outside London, this plays very badly.
Sebastian, brief comments. What's your reaction to seeing that clip?
I'm surprised that Susan Hall wasn't more explicit about what she was talking about.
Really? Really, Sebastian? Come on.
Sorry.
Come on.
Sadiq Khan is living under a rock if he doesn't understand what we mean by grooming.
It's not that he doesn't understand, it's that she needs to say it, and she didn't. And she refused
did.
twice.
She explained that. She said it is men grooming young girls.
Yes, but she didn't say Asian men. And I think that was an omission on her part. If she wants to talk about that specifically, she should say that word.
Surely he was goading her into that so he could say, well, that's racist.
No, he was looking for a clarification, and she had two options to do it, two opportunities, and she didn't take them.
If there are grooming gangs operating in London that are run by white British men, then of course he should be talking about that and tackling that as well.
Completely.
Right? We have seen we don't know the exact details in this case that they've brought up in the Express, but across the country there is an issue with certain communities being more overrepresented in the data. But regardless of that, if there are grooming gangs in London, Susan Hall doesn't need to say a specific ethnicity. If there are any of them, Sadiq Khan should be addressing it and be concerned about it. And there, he's acting like a sort of, naughty kid in the headmaster's office, acting like a child.
We're going to come back to this, because this is the biggest story on all the front pages. There's a lot of Andrew here, but I think that we really do need to start talking about this happening in London, because, again, I think the way this has been handled by the Mayor of London is absolutely abysmal. And I think, if any of these accusations potentially are ever true, or these allegations are true, there will be political hell to pay for him. I certainly hope there would be if anyone did that. But anyway, look, GBNews has approached the Mayor's office for comment. A spokesperson for the Mayor of London has told the Express this, though. The Mayor has always been clear that the safety of London is his top priority, and nowhere is this truer than the safeguarding of children. That's